Yes, everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Stephen Howson, and this is 5 things that we learned watching Manchester United and Leeds bore the piss out of everyone this weekend. In at number 1, the fans were missed. I think United and Leeds, and certainly United and Leeds at Ellen Road, after it's been so long since they've had us there, would have been an absolute firecracker of a game. I think it would have been the sort of game where the atmosphere would have played a massive part into it. Leeds sat back. In complete contrast to what we saw at Old Trafford, where United started out of the blocks really fast. We got at them, there was space, we carved them open, and then they was trying to chase the game a little bit, and that resulted in even more gaps, and it spiraled out of control for them pretty quickly. Yesterday, what happened against Leeds is they were allowed to sit back. They were allowed to play a tactical game, and they were allowed to play this patient sort of reactionary game rather than the sort of front foot offensive game that you sort of associate with Bielsa and his current Leeds team. I don't think a full Ellen Road, absolutely like clawing at the fences to try and get at Manchester United, would have allowed that from Leeds. And I think a Leeds stadium absolutely bouncing for the return of Manchester United wouldn't have allowed them to be so patient. I think they would have egged them on to attack us, egged them on to get stuck into us. And I think that would have played into United's hands, and we'd have opened them up, and we'd have seen a game similar to the one that we saw at Old Trafford earlier in the season. That's not to say that they can't be tactical and they can't make it difficult and stifle, because we've seen all of the big six have struggled to take points off Leeds at Ellen Road this season. It's something that I think everyone's got to really look at. They play a slightly different game. It's less adventurous than the one that they play on the road, and it's certainly less adventurous than the one that we saw at Old Trafford. Number 2, slight rotation and resting of certain players is understandable at times. And United are all but guaranteed Champions League football by our position in the Premier League. It's understandable why the players mentally might take 5% of the foot off the gas, and understand why Solskjaer maybe doesn't want to play his best 11. And obviously got Europa League semi-final coming up on Thursday. But I thought his in-game selections and decisions were probably not up to scratch. And you can talk about the pros and cons of the starting 11. I don't think the starting 11 was correct. I thought we was definitely expecting a team that played more like the one that we saw at Old Trafford versus the one that we actually did get. But the ideas off the bench just weren't acceptable. Now, previously, I've defended Solskjaer for his substitutions because I think he's looked at the bench and gone, got Andreas Pereira here. What am I supposed to do with that? And I think the options just have not been there on the bench. Whereas yesterday, his options that he actually brought on, Cavani, Van de Beek, Pogba, I'm sorry, mate, but they're great options to have off the bench. I can't defend you hesitating in bringing them on. It took to the 76th minute before we saw Dan James, who had an awful display in a United shirt yesterday, make way for Paul Pogba. It took until the 86th minute before we saw Edinson Cavani introduced as a proper fox-in-the-box striker that might have actually made a difference if it had been on the pitch for more than 4 minutes. We saw the 89th minute before Donny van der Beek was given the opportunity. Those are decisions that I don't think you can defend, really. Now, yes, Cavani probably needs managing. I don't think he's got 2 games a week in him at the moment. And with Pogba fasting, I think that has to be managed. We've got players fasting at Stretford Paddock FC, and I don't think that they've got more than a half in them. They're just no energy, and obviously player safety plays an important part. You don't want them to be too dehydrated because it's going to cause problems down the line. So you have to look after and manage the players in the circumstances that they're in. So I understand those sorts of things, but it was clear that those changes could have been made earlier. And if you didn't want to bring Paul Pogba on maybe half-time because you thought maybe he's not got a full half in him, you've got Donny van der Beek, who's absolutely capable of doing that job. So I think in the past that Solskjaer's been criticised for his substitutions, and I don't necessarily agree with him, but I think you can be critical of his substitutions yesterday, and I think you'd be bang on the money. Number 3. Thriving fullbacks. In a game that had few positives, I think one of the brighter sparks actually probably was Luke Shaw for Manchester United. I think he's been a bit of a hot topic this week because he was the first player at United, at least, to speak out against the absolute abomination of the European Super League, and I commend him for that. I think that's a brilliant thing for him to do, so hats off to Luke Shaw for that. And I thought he was probably United's best player on the pitch on reflection yesterday. 89% pass accuracy is what he had on the pitch. He had 4 passes into the penalty area. He created another 5 chances, completed 2 of his free take-ons and made 7 ball recoveries. He's now created 50 chances in the Premier League in 2021, which is more than any other player, which is sensational. And I think The calls earlier in the season, particularly around December and January, were so premature for him to be included in player of the season. And the talk of what his performances were at the time being this, that, and the other were just not true. The performances are getting there now, though. I still think he's a little bit of work to do defensively, but going forward, he gives you everything that you would want in the final third. He links up fantastically well with Marcus Rashford. Like you said, he is creating tons of chances. I think that he's having a fantastic season. He's improved immeasurably going forward. He looks a lot more confident playing under Solskjaer, and he is improving defensively. He's not quite fully there yet, not the complete package, but he's looking pretty good for it. On the right-hand side of the pitch, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, also 7 ball recoveries, 6 out of 7 attempted take-ons for Aaron Wan-Bissaka yesterday. Madness. 5 interceptions and 4 clearances. I think it was a good game from both fullbacks, both in attack and defence. Well done, lads. Number 4, 1 win to go. As previously mentioned, United have pretty much got 1 foot in the Champions League for next season. The winning run that we enjoyed prior to yesterday's draw has pushed us over the line, pretty much, whilst teams that have been in the dogfight behind us are slipping up and dropping points. United are now 12 points inside the Champions League qualification places, and with 15 points left to play for, just 1 win guarantees a spot for the Champions League for Manchester United. And it's finishing inside the Champions League spots for a second consecutive season. It's the first time that's happened since Sir Alex Ferguson has retired. So that's progress. And I think it's tangible progress. And I think it's really important now that we push on. We get that job done. Try and finish as high up as possible. Second would be a real marker of improvement, I think, for United. So let's secure it. We've closed the gap on the league leaders a little bit. I think you now need to pick up a trophy. It would be Ollie's first. There's rightly so criticism at him not picking up a trophy. I think it's still quite early days into his United tenure. But I think he does need to bring a trophy home to quiet some of those dissenting voices down a little bit. And finally, it's all eyes on Europe. Thursday is the first of 2 massive semi-finals for Manchester United against Roma in the Europa League. And it's a winnable game for Manchester United. United fell at this stage last season against Sevilla when actually I think we outplayed them. I think we probably deserve to be in the final. We have to go one step further. We have to get ourselves to Gdansk. We have to do it. Roma are a side that shouldn't really be causing United too many problems. This is a straightforward ask for Manchester United in this semi-final. And you've got Liverpool sandwiched in between it. So you do have to really put in a good performance so you're not worrying too much about the semi-final on the other side, so you can turn up and actually put the Scousers in the place, like almost every other team in the league has done this season. The foundations have been firmly laid for what Ollie is achieving at Manchester United, and he could go on to build a really formidable United side. It needs retooling. It needs the board to put some serious investment into that. I'm not sure how realistic that is with the rumours of the possible takeover and sale of the club. That's surely going to disrupt any sort of plans that we've got for the summer, which would be a shame, to be honest, because it'll be Ollie that carries the can for that. When if they'd have invested and got behind him, you might have actually seen Manchester United competing and winning stuff next season. I think we need 4 or 5 players. Whether or not they're prepared or capable of doing that when they're trying to sell the club, we are going to find out. But if United can finish second this season and add some silverware into the mixer as well, I think that's a phenomenal achievement for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. When you consider all of the circumstances, when you consider that United have had the most truncated season, we went through 51 games with a midweek game in the middle of it, more than anybody else. We played more games over the Christmas period than anyone else. This squad has been tested by losing the likes of Anthony Martial to form initially and then to injury. We've had Marcus Rashford injured for most of the season. Paul Pogba's been in and out of the team with injury. This squad has been stretched and tested. You forget that it started with our captain being arrested in Greece. Ollie's had to put up with a hell of a lot this season. And then on top of that, being absolutely shafted by the board over what's going on with the European Super League. They owe him. If he wins the trophy and he wins the second place spot, they owe him to give him a fighting chance to try and win something next season. Because I don't think we're that far away from doing it. I think United have got a good foundation to do it. And what a way it would be to welcome fans back into the stadium for our best performance since the 12-13 season. Another trophy, finishing second, confidence, everyone delighted to be back inside Old Trafford. Ollie and the squad, they're capable of doing this. No matter who we get in the final, if we get there, we are capable of turning that into a trophy. We're capable of finishing second. The question mark then sits on the board. Are they capable of delivering what this squad deserves to compete over the summer?